What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast that talks about all your favorite comic books, movies, TV shows, and of course, we feature a beer of the week. Now, if you're new to the show, please go subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Hops Geek News is where you can find us as always. That's also every podcasting platform, social media platform. That's where we're at. Go ahead, hang out with us. We have a lot of cool things going on. We have Cantina Hours that are live. We have episodes that are coming out like this one today where we're going to be talking about Godzilla and King Kong, not the movie that just came out. However, we're going to bring you up to speed, starting with Kong Skull Island, Godzilla 2014. We got Godzilla King of the Monsters. We have Godzilla versus Kong. And of course, we couldn't do that without the help of somebody who likes Godzilla. Lauren's not as up in the MonsterVerse as I am, but I did bring a special guest today, and his name is Oliver Roth. And we will get to him in a minute, though. That's my son. He's going to talk about Godzilla with us. We will get to him in a minute because we're going to talk about what we're drinking, what we've been reading or watching, some quick news, and then we will dive into the main topic. So I figured this beer of the week was fitting because it's a giant mosquito on top of the world. And, we're talking about monsters and stuff. And it's the Mozzie Juice Hazy IPA from Momac Brewing Company in Portsmouth, Virginia, actually. It is 16 fluid ounces, 6.2% of delicious, pure, hazy IPA juiciness. Like I said, there's a reason I chose it. You can see that. It looks like a good juice. Lauren, what are you drinking over there?
So I'm drinking a beer that I'm 99% certain you sent me because it's Weathersolds Brewing. It is Coffee Cavernous. It is an imperial stout at 11.5%. So you could say it is a Godzilla type stout. And I have it
certainly y'all talking about monsters here before soon. She's going to be seeing some.
I know, and we're doing a live after this, so that should be fun as well. I did just eat dinner though, but I have it since I don't have anything Godzilla or King Kong, but I do know King Kong fights dinosaurs because I remember Kaylee was a big into King Kong. Actually, that's like I just had like a memory flashback of that. But we'll talk about that maybe around when Oliver talks about his love of it, and I can talk about how when Kaylee was about Oliver's age, she was big into King Kong because she loved dinosaurs so much. So I have it in my prairie dinosaur glass, and Logan brought me a little dinosaur for my beer picture that will be on the Instagram when this episode airs.
Yeah, I have a Godzilla that I will get a good picture with, so you can post that as well. And so Oliver's with us. And before, again, though, I'm going to make him keep waiting. This is his podcast debut. He's 8 years old, so really excited. He's been asking for a while to come on the show, and I was like, what's a good time to bring him on the show? And of course, he loves Godzilla. I love Godzilla. We've watched Godzilla -1 together. We're going to go and see the new Godzilla X Kong. And so why not? Why not bring him in? And he's pretty excited. So first things first, though, we don't have anything that we've messed up on or had to look into, thankfully. So we are going to go ahead and go into what we've been reading or watching. I kicked it off this week with Nerd Initiative with Batman Dark Ages from DC. It is a alternative take on Bruce Wayne's backstory. He is an old man in a old folks home. He is losing his memory. So he is told to write down his memories so that way he remembers them and kind of goes through his start of life, where his start of life is he doesn't go to the movies with his parents. His parents go, they die by a gang, and Alfred kind of takes care of him. Bruce is in and out of jail throughout his childhood. And then he gets framed for something that puts him in jail, making it so he actually can't take over Wayne Enterprises at the age of 18. His dad was all about this tomorrow world of Gotham. And it's actually really, really interesting. So I highly recommend you check that out. Aside from that,
that's
Thunderbolts.
Interesting. I like that, though. Yeah. That's like, it's a different kind of trauma, so he deals with it differently.
Wow. Yeah. I definitely agree that it's way better. That I like it because it's not the old rehash of Bruce going to the Mark of Zorro and his parents dying. And then this whole thing, it's Bruce's wasn't there. He feels like he should have been there, or it could have been him. And then of course, everybody's trying to take over Gotham City, and how they're going to do that. They're going to take over the Wayne Foundation. So that's kind of that take. And then Thunderbolts #4, I read from Marvel. Our friends over at the Hive Mind, Jackson and Colin, wrap up their 4-issue arc with Thunderbolts, and Dr. Doom's in it. The grand finale with Red Skull goes down, and it's very
spoilers. I have 3. I haven't read 3, and I'm waiting to go pick up 4 so I can read them together.
Whole 4 of them are, well, Dr. Doom's on the cover, so it's not really a spoiler, I guess.
Well, I haven't seen the cover.
Well, the whole thing of everything is the fact that they're going after Red Skull. So
that's true.
Surprise.
I do know that. Surprise.
Aside from that, haven't really read or watched anything aside from being an old person and watching Deal or No Deal Island with Joe Manganiello as the host. You know him as Deathstroke. You know him from tons of just
How I Met Your Mother.
everything. So that is just Boston Rob from Survivors on it. We've been sucked into that. I've been playing a lot of Helldivers, and that's kind of what I've been doing. So what have you been reading or watching?
So Wolverine, the Sabretooth War continues. They're dropping them regularly. I reviewed number 46 this past week, and that is part 6 of the Sabretooth War. What's really kind of interesting about this, you're not getting too much Wolverine. It's more like Sabretooth has taken over. You know, it's the saber teeth from different multiverses. But there's also the Exiles from the comic book run Sabretooth and the Exiles, and these were people that were all in Krakoa together, and they managed to escape. But like everybody that Sabretooth becomes pals with ends up turning on him because he doesn't treat them very nice. So this is about Sabretooth trying to get Logan back, and he acts all like, I'm mean and I'm just doing this to Logan because I'm a bad guy and this and that, but he loves Logan. Logan's like the closest to a best friend that he has, and he has very much so nostalgic feelings for the times that they did fight together. And like you saw that in the Origins movie, and you've seen that many times in the comic books where they did fight side by side. And so he's manipulated a way, which happens to Wolverine often, to get Wolverine to work for him. And that's all I will say without spoiling more. And obviously that's, you know, the good guys only, or the bad guys only stay lucky for so long. So this is nearing towards the Sabretooth War. I love this comic book run. You've heard me talk about it many times. If you've been listening to us for a while, this is a Ben Percy comic. If you don't want to dip your toes into a comic that's 3 years in, now's the perfect time to do it, because the Sabretooth War was a whole new story. And this comic overall, it has like different sections of story. So in, you know, like we say on Nerd Initiative, just turn a page. I also reviewed, and that should be out on Nerd Initiative by the time this comes out, with Janelle and Megan from Nerd Initiative. We reviewed Women of Marvel. It was like an anthology. Gail Simon was part of it, and a whole bunch of women at Marvel. I can't even, like, the list was like, I didn't even put who was who. I just wrote the names. Like I didn't have time to do writer for colorist and all this. But it was really cool. There was a story with Black Widow, and I love the art in there. There was a story with Squirrel Girl. It was short and sweet. There was a story
Squirrel Girl, yeah,
with Scarlet Witch and Darcy. And then there was a bunch of stories. It was a lot of fun. Highly recommend that. The first one starts with Sue Storm and Namor's like, well, if you marry me, then all will be right with the world. So it's very old school, and then all of a sudden it turns into not old school, and the art was just gorgeous because it went from like 1960s art to like current, very detailed art. And the story was a lot of fun. It was very like pro girl, but it was also like awesome, because a lot of people are like, oh, if it's pro girl, it's anti-man. No, there was literally a part where they say like, no, we love those guys. We need those guys. So it was really cool. Highly recommend getting that. They did that for Women's History Month. Again, it's an anthology, so there's like 6 different stories total. Some are very short. Actually, they're all pretty short. It's only 38 pages.
Oh, wow. That's pretty short. Yeah. For 6 anthology stories.
Well, Squirrel Girl's literally like 1 page.
What? She only gets one page?
Yeah, but I feel like it was maybe more so introducing her to an audience that isn't familiar with her, because I'm not familiar with Squirrel Girl. And then another one wasn't actually a story. It was more the comic book past story. I can't even remember the name. It was Monet St. Croix. So it was a character I wasn't familiar with. She was introduced in the 90s in one of the X-Men runs. And I'm guessing we might be seeing more of her soon.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I know for a fact that you and Oliver saw a movie this weekend. Not together, of course, but you both did see Ghostbusters. So why don't you tell us first what you thought, and then we'll ask Oliver what he thought about Ghostbusters.
I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a good combination of fun and nostalgia. It's very much so a family movie. You know, Paul Rudd did great, and it's fun to see, you know, Bill Murray and Ernie Hudson and Dan Aykroyd together again. And it's a good time. It's a lot of fun. It's worth staying on the big screen just because, you know, it's New York City and there's monsters in New York City or ghosts in New York City. But I very much so enjoyed it. What do you think, Oliver?
It was very nice. I would say if you're under 7, you should not watch it.
If you're under 7, you shouldn't watch it?
Yeah.
Why?
A little scary.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part? You can go ahead and just spoil your favorite part.
Where the guy gets kicked in the butt.
Very detailed, as we see. So what would you give it out of 10?
10.
You would give it a 10 out of 10.
Oh, how does it compare to the 80s ones?
The 80s ones is not that good because it doesn't have much battle in it.
Well, good news. This is his last time ever on this podcast. It's okay. We're all okay to have opinions. So you did like it, though. You went with Mom and you got to see it together. Yeah. Okay, well, that was fun. And then we're going to go see Godzilla this weekend. But Lauren, what would you give it out of 10?
I'd probably say an 8 out of 10. 8
out of 10? Okay, you guys are close. I'm surprised you liked it because I've seen a lot of like people not enjoying it, saying it's predictable or one thing or another. But I haven't seen it yet. I just haven't had time.
It was, I mean, a little predictable at parts, but I guess I kind of just expected that from a Ghostbusters movie. So I feel like my ratings a lot of times when I go into it is dependent on my expectations of it. But I mean, I thought Paul Rudd was great. I liked the family dynamic they created. Because, he's dating the mom in this one.
Yeah.
And, with the two kids. And it's so funny to see Finn from Stranger Things so grown up.
Yeah.
Like he's
like a grown ass man now.
Yeah. Well, because he's such a goofy teenager. So it's kind of nice.
Stranger Things 5 still has him. The 5th season's just now filming, and I guess he's still supposed to be playing like 14, but he's 6'6".
Yeah, is he really that tall?
I don't know. He looks tall.
He looks very
That's
tall.
all I know.
Yeah, he's taller than Paul Rudd.
Yeah. Was it better or worse than Afterlife?
When we were watching it, I whispered to Brielle at one point, I'm like, we should have rewatched the other one.
Oh.
It was different. I feel like Afterlife, they were dealing with more trauma, and I feel like that scene at the end of Afterlife with
Harold Ramis, yeah.
Yeah. That pulled at my heartstrings big time. That was very, very, very emotional and in a sad way. And I feel like this one was just more fun. I didn't feel like they were really processing any trauma. They were more so doing well. They were just dealing with regular teenage stuff and dealing with, trying to save the city and deal with the same like mayor or whatever from the 80s shows up. And he's like, I'm going to shut you guys down again. I was like, oh, I've heard this before.
Oh, man. No, that's cool. I like that they're New York City. Did they explain why they moved to New York City?
I think there was like a one-liner where they did, but I don't remember because Brielle, when she saw the New York City thing, she goes, we've been there.
Yes. So. There's a comic from Dark Horse that I did review with Tom that takes place in between the two, and they are moving to New York City, but they never explained why exactly. So I just wasn't sure if it was ever explained or what they were doing, but
I think it was to move into the Ghostbusters place. I think.
Oh, that makes sense.
Maybe a fresh start, moving to the
Become the Ghostbusters, because busting makes them feel good, man.
I know. Well, when you see it, you'll have to let us know what it was actually.
I'll give you our review, and when I do see it, maybe we can do an episode on it. But let's go into real quick some news. I don't have really any news. I don't have news at all. So why don't you give us what you have for some news?
I don't have much at all. So the Skywalker Saga is coming back to theaters for May the 4th. National Treasure 3 is still in development. This isn't really news, but I saw this recently and I didn't know this, so I figured I would share it. Screen Rant shared this. As of 2009, Marvel can use Spidey, but he has to be within a 44-minute long movie or TV show, and it has to be animated. So I feel like that was shared because, maybe he'll show up in X-Men 97. I don't know.
Maybe.
My last piece of news is there is a short that is related that has Miles Morales in it. And it is called The Spider Within, a Spider-Verse story short film. And it has just been released on YouTube, and it is 7 minutes long if you want to search that on the YouTube.
Nice. All right. Well, that's all we got for our opening segments, everybody. We will be back in just a moment talking about Godzilla, some King Kong, some history, kind of our thoughts on the movies. And so stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Like I said, we are going to be talking Godzilla Kong, all the good stuff about it. So without further ado, Oliver, you're a special guest tonight, man. You get to come here and talk about Godzilla. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, and then tell them what you like about Godzilla and King Kong.
My name is Oliver again. So I like Godzilla and King Kong because they fight really weirdly.
Weirdly? Like how?
You know how Kong punches Godzilla and then Godzilla slightly moves and then Kong falls down? His legs are so weird.
Well, yeah, Godzilla's got like those stubby legs, man. He can't like grab. Like King Kong's an ape, so he fights a little differently. Yeah. What do you like? What's your favorite thing about Godzilla?
That Godzilla just like demolishes guys.
Well, like, was there anything specific he uses that you like about Godzilla? Like, what kind of powers of his are some of your favorites?
Atomic breath.
The atomic breath? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the new Godzilla, no, not this one, but the one.
Oh, we went and saw -1?
Yeah. It's pretty cool because his spikes go up, and then he does a super atomic breath.
That's true. To charge up his spikes in -1, his spikes like come out of his skin as he charges up, and then he has to like recharge and stuff too. It isn't like these new MonsterVerse movies we get where Godzilla is just atomic breathing every 5 seconds. It's like he has to recharge, so it's kind of cool. I took him to see it. It was all subtitles. I was really impressed that you're able to follow along with the movie because, you can't read as fast as we can. You're still learning to read, but you did a really good job. Did you like that movie?
Yeah.
That's a lot of adults won't even watch. Oh, go ahead.
One more thing. A guy from Japan or something, he speaks Spanish and he almost lost his dollar.
No, he doesn't speak Spanish. They're Japanese. They speak Japanese.
I don't know.
He lost his money because he came back from World War II.
Yeah.
Not everybody speaks Spanish. No, they don't speak Spanish.
Sorry. But he almost loses his daughter because Godzilla destroys a bunch of buildings, and she was in a train. Godzilla picked up the train, or it just hit his leg and started exploding.
That's true.
Mm.
There were 3 trains.
That was true. Lauren was about to tell you that's impressive because not a lot of adults will even watch movies with subtitles on them. So,
Really?
yeah. Well, Lauren, before we dive into our first movie, which would be Kong Skull Island, why don't you hit us some fun facts?
Give me just a second. My computer's being funky, so I'm on my phone. Okay, so the first time we ever saw King Kong, well, none of us were alive then, was 1933. So here are some of those fun facts. So Marion C. Cooper's first vision for the film was of a giant ape on top of the world's tallest building fighting airplanes. And he basically then worked backwards from that idea in his head. And of course, we end up with Kong on top of the Empire State Building, which this came out shortly after the building had actually finished being built. So that's kind of cool. Some of the plants in the background were real. And at one point, a flower actually bloomed while they were filming, but they didn't notice until they were done. And because it was like stop motion, they had to redo that because the flower, bloomed, and it wasn't supposed to be doing that because not that much time should have passed. The roar you hear Kong make is a lion's roar combined with a tiger's roar and then slowed down and done backwards.
Oh, wow. That's
I love how all these animals, like even, what was it? I think T-Rex is like a koala or something. And
yeah, it's something weird like that. Yeah.
It's like we know what certain animals sound like, but we're like, no, that doesn't sound right. We're going to make it sound like this instead. Kong's fur seems to be moving constantly. And why that is because the animators have to keep grabbing the figure and moving it. They would brush the hair constantly to try to hide that. But of course, it still made it in the film, which is, that's kind of cool to see the progression of film being made and to see those little things.
Yeah, like movie magic, man. It's because it's pretty well done. Of course, there's not CGI in 1939 like we are 33
Right.
like we have today, but it's still like impressive how they would think about how to do these things.
I mean, 1933, I'm pretty sure that was the year Prohibition was repealed. So women had only been able to vote for like 10 years. Like if you
They voted
think
King
about
Kong into office.
Right? See what happens when you do things like give women equal rights? You get awesome movies like this. So the film was successfully re-released worldwide numerous times. For the 1938 reissue, several scenes of we're keeping it PG today, excessive violence and other stuff was actually cut to comply with the Hays Production Code, which had just been passed in 1934. Many of them got added back in 1971. However, one scene did stay deleted, which has never been found. It was shown publicly once during a preview screening in California in January 1933. I feel like today it wouldn't be that big of a deal. It's probably similar to like The Exorcist. So it was a graphic scene following Khan shaking 4 sailors off the log bridge, causing them to fall into a ravine where they were eaten alive by giant spiders. We kind of see that in the one that Kaylee loved that came out in the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah, the Peter Jackson one, where I always quote that movie because it's got Jack Black. And at the end, after Jack Black walks up after Kong's whole thing in New York City, he's like, "It was beauty killed the beast." I quote that to like Carrie all the time. I don't know why.
Yes. Yeah. And then that one had a bunch of people. So at the preview, though, audience members screamed and they either left the theater or they talked about how like gross the sequence was. And it disrupted the film. So that's why Marion C. Cooper said it stopped the picture cold. So the next day they took it out. Or he said he took it out himself. The pilots that fly by the Empire State Building were each paid $10.
Oh, wow.
I know. Fay Wray, who played Anne in the first movie, passed away on August 10th, 2004. 2 days later, the Empire State Building darkened its lights in honor of her, which I thought like
let a giant gorilla climb up the side of it.
That's like, geez, like 70 years after the movie came out, and she was like, that's really cool. She lived a long time. I have some Godzilla. Do you guys want to talk about anything before I go into Godzilla?
Yeah, let's go into Kong Skull Island. It came out in 2017, which I thought it came out earlier than that for some reason, but it was kind of like the first introduction into Monarch and the whole monsterverse that they are trying to build, which was directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts. It had Samuel Jackson, Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, John Goodman, John C. Reilly, and some other big names in it. It basically takes place post-Vietnam. So Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, they kind of go to Skull Island and are out there doing their thing. And that's when they discover Kong, and there's a bunch of monsters. There's some really cool fight scenes. Samuel Jackson and the army kind of get involved too. And they stumble upon John C. Reilly, who has been living there since World War II. He was like a pilot that crash landed on Skull Island and started living with the native people there. And it was awesome. There's one of my favorite sequences is he's like, "Oh, you guys seem like really awesome people. We're all going to die together." It's the humor in that movie is fantastic. Brie Larson's great. Tom Hiddleston's great. Samuel Jackson plays like, of course, Samuel Jackson, like unhinged. Oliver, did you see Skull Island?
I saw Skull Island a little, just not too much. I would say the beginning's kind of good because a guy crashes and he has some dangerous weapons within him in his suit, so it's kind
Good
of
memory.
Good. Yeah.
Do you remember anything else in that movie?
No.
Well, I know Kong fights some monsters. Like, there's some Kong's not very big, so I guess this is supposed to be like baby Kong. They're setting up for because at this point there are rumors that Godzilla would be fighting Kong at some point. So this was baby Kong setting up Monarch. Because at the end, or John Goodman is working with like the government with Monarch, if I remember correctly. It's been a little bit. It used to be on Netflix. I don't know if it still is on Netflix or if it's on Max now, but. It was fantastic. All the fighting and just monsters, CGI. Godzilla was amazing. Or Godzilla, King Kong was amazing. And overall, like this movie is one that people should watch. I think Lauren, you probably would even like this movie just off the cast alone.
I think I did see this movie, but it's been a while because I remember the scenes with like Loki and Captain Marvel, and I remember being like, "Good Lord, is everybody a superhero in this?" And we did a Godzilla King Kong episode. It was probably a few years ago, and so I did watch those ones leading up to it, and then the new one was released directly on Max. So I have watched them. I'm just not passionate about them like you. So that's why it was good to have Oliver come on, so we have somebody else who's passionate about it.
That's right. I totally forgot we did a Godzilla King Kong episode a couple years. Yeah, because Godzilla versus King Kong was 2021, so it has been a couple years. Now, let's go into Godzilla 2014 before we go into some Godzilla fun facts. Another movie that was absolutely star-studded. It was Bryan Cranston, Aaron Taylor Johnson,
and more superheroes.
Elizabeth Olsen, and
who played a couple.
Yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen were married in this movie. And if you know anything about who they are, they're Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Well, he's Quicksilver not for very long. He dies very quickly. Haha.
Oh.
But it was directed. He did not. Gareth Edwards is actually the director of this movie. And this movie I was super pumped for. It was awesome. Muto is the bad guy in this one. Muto. You don't really see a lot of Godzilla though, which is the big complaint because they focused too much on the human aspect. Like Bryan Cranston is Aaron Taylor Johnson's dad, and Godzilla had like rampaged or something happened at this Japanese area where Aaron Taylor Johnson goes, and Bryan Cranston dies very suddenly in this movie, which everybody still to this day feels faked out because they marketed the crap.
He was in the trailer quite a bit.
Yeah, he was in the trailer so much, and then so when he dies 20 minutes into the movie, you're just like, what?
Well, and I think it was at like the height of Breaking Bad, wasn't it? So like,
yeah,
he was so hot right then.
He was the mega star, and they kill him, and then Aaron Taylor Johnson is a soldier who goes back, and then there's a really cool scene in this. Did you watch this movie? You didn't see this one either?
All I see is Godzilla put his atomic breath into Muto's mouth.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell us about that scene.
So when Godzilla puts his atomic breath into Muto's mouth, I feel like everyone would be screaming in their head. Yeah. Because you almost never see Godzilla do that.
He opens his mouth up and just shoots it down there, and that's how he kills him, right?
Yeah. Instead, he could have just torn his head off.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah, like King Ghidorah, and then just done this.
We'll get to that one in a minute. That movie in a minute.
Yeah.
I like the scene where they halo jump out of the airplane and they're falling through the clouds and everything down to the city, which is San Francisco. R.I.P. to San Francisco in this movie is actually the city that they destroy pretty hardcore. And you do see they do focus on the human element in this one a little bit too much, I think. But it's Gareth Edwards, so the cinematography was awesome. Another sequence is Godzilla when they go to Hawaii and he starts to fight Muto at the train or the airport. And then they cut away from the fight scene. And like, that's the big first fight scene between the monsters. And everybody complained kind of that they cut away from that too much. But Lauren, you saw this one too, right?
I don't know that I did actually, because I think when we were getting ready to do our episode, there was a lot for me to watch. And you're like, you told me not to worry about this one.
Yeah, that's true. Because this one really doesn't have an impact on the subsequent movies, which I'll kind of get into in a minute. But why don't you hit us with Godzilla's first appearance?
So Godzilla's first appearance was a few years later in 1954. Still none of us were alive. And it was in the movie Godzilla. The film's music director came up with Godzilla's roar by rubbing a coarse resin-coated leather glove up and down the strings of a contrabass, or says double bass, and reverberating the recorded sound. Like, how fun of a job is that? Let's just come up with random sounds.
How do you get Godzilla to roar? I know it. Let me get this weird bass. Let me get this gardening glove, and let's just start slapping things around.
Well, think about with like Jurassic Park, how they got the boom with the foot in the water to make the circles. It was like on a guitar or something.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people get paid to come up with these ideas.
They do.
So while stop motion was used in this, it wasn't used as much as they wanted to because it was going to take so long and they had a deadline. So there was an actual guy in the suit, and he did more than just the Godzilla movie. He was also the same guy that did Godzilla vs. Kong. He would get so hot. They said it would get up to like 140 degrees and he would sometimes pass out. And not only did he have to wear this suit on land, he also had to wear it underwater, underground, and he was lit on fire. A common misconception is that the name of Godzilla was created by U.S. distributors. The name was actually the idea of Toho and its international sales division, who would translate Gojira into English as Godzilla, but they would say it Godzilla. However, us English folk were like, it looks like Godzilla. So, of course, we changed it. George Lucas, and I'm sure many others, cite Godzilla as an inspiration for special effects in Star Wars. And then my last fun fact for Godzilla is 50 years after the movie, Godzilla got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh, Godzilla has his own star?
Who knew? It's clearly not in San Francisco because I don't think they like
it. Or Tokyo, I bet.
Yeah.
Or Tokyo is always getting
LA
destroyed.
is like, he didn't mess anything up here. He's fine. Actually, that was it. Remember in Jurassic Park 2, did they go to San Francisco?
That was San Diego.
San Diego. Okay.
Yeah.
But they had a scene with like Japanese guys pointing though up at the dinosaur, and obviously that was a nod to Godzilla.
What you got?
It's crazy. Tokyo gets destroyed by Godzilla and other monsters. I don't know why they mostly put it in Tokyo.
I think it's because Godzilla was a Japanese creation. So a Japanese company called Toho created Godzilla. So that's just kind of, they always filmed, and that's why there's a lot of old movies we'll have to watch together about Godzilla. I think you would enjoy. You watched some of them.
Yeah.
You did. And they use that old school like music in Godzilla -1, which is pretty cool. That bum 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 bum. That's one thing they kept with that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But did you guys know that the company Toho does not allow Godzilla to lose? And so in Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, their stipulation was that Godzilla can lose. And that's why in Godzilla versus King Kong, Godzilla doesn't outright lose. He kind of ultimately, he gets his butt kicked, but ultimately he beats Kong, and that's because Toho does not like or let Godzilla to lose when they lease him out to these other companies.
In the 1963 version of Godzilla and Kong, the first time they fought together, King Kong actually won. So I wonder if they
shout out to our pop culture connoisseur.
That's hilarious.
Letting me in on that information. It's like a newer thing. I know at least they did that with Justice League, Godzilla, and Kong, and I think they did it with Godzilla versus Kong. So it might be like a newer thing,
right? Or maybe because they had their when they lease them out. I could see that.
Yeah, right.
Like, you're not going to make our boy look bad if we don't have all our hands in the pot.
Yeah, exactly. So now
it's kind of funny.
It is like you can use him, but he can't lose. He's kind of booked like Roman Reigns right now in WWE. Yeah. Let's go into Godzilla King of the Monsters, where that's filmed in 2019 or released in 2019. It is filmed by Michael Dougherty, stars Millie Bobby Brown, Kyle Chandler, Vera Farmiga, and also Tywin Lannister. Sorry, I forget his name, but Tywin Lannister's in this. Monarch is she's like an eco-terrorist, and so is Tywin Lannister. They want to basically set these monsters free to destroy the world and kind of kill humans because humans have become these awful you know what I'm trying to say.
We're ruining the world.
Yes, gosh dang it.
Terrorists.
And it stars King Ghidorah, Mothra, Rodan also appear in this one. Really cool fight sequences like in Antarctica. When they go down there, we see King Ghidorah's for the very first time battling. There's like some nighttime sequences, the flashes. Rest in peace, the city of Boston in this one. Boston gets absolutely nuked by Godzilla and King Ghidorah, and Millie Bobby Brown's mom is Vera Farmiga. She bites the dust in this movie, and her dad is a very bad dad, Kyle Chandler. Terrible father. She's also pretty useless in these movies. Doesn't serve any purpose because all we want to do is watch these monsters fight, which they started to really kind of let us see in this one. They're like, all right, they don't care about the humans. Let them fight. And they kind of do. And what were you get your one swear word? What did you want to say? I know you were asking me before the show. What did you want to say?
I was gonna say it's crazy that Rodan beat by Mothra because usually you don't see Rodan usually Rodan acts like he's a god, and then Mothra's like she's like an actual god and just stabs him in the wing, which is odd.
Well, what was the phrase you wanted to use? I'll let you say it one time.
I was gonna say the A word in this.
Go ahead, say the phrase.
So Rodan's ass gets absolutely kicked.
There you go. You get one.
There you go. It sums it up.
You get one. Yes, Rodan gets kind of beat by Mothra in this one. Do you remember this movie at all? What was your favorite moments of this movie?
King Ghidorah, Godzilla turning into what kind of one?
Was it when they had to go and use the nuclear radiation on Godzilla to bring him back to life because King Ghidorah hurts him pretty bad? Or they nuke both of them or do something which causes Godzilla to go down to the depths where they first kind of find that underground world that Godzilla is hiding out in, and he uses tunnels to basically get from place to place all around the earth. And that's when they go there and they use a nuke or radiation on him because they figured out that's how he's going to basically restore his power.
And then I like when he just makes big explosions with the type of radiation and Mothra's kind of powers.
Mothra protects him at one point. She comes down to she sacrifices herself for Godzilla in this movie because they love each other in some weird monster way. And she comes down and protects him and puts that powder or whatever she does on him, which kind of ends up causing her to die. But yeah, she was helping him out the whole time because he's the king of the Titans.
Hadn't she just come out of the cocoon or the chrysalis?
She did,
or something?
yeah.
I vaguely remember this. So Oliver, I think you remember this movie way better than I do.
Wow.
Yeah, because you're saying things I was like, oh yeah.
They did happen.
Yeah. And then when Godzilla burns King Ghidorah's heads off, you're like, your mind's exploding right now because you think Godzilla's gonna lose.
You do, but he doesn't, does he?
Yeah. You're like, okay, he's gonna lose 10 or 20 minutes later. Oh my gosh. Is he winning?
It was in the script.
I thought he was gonna lose.
I just told you Godzilla can't lose. I just told you.
And then everyone goes, I like that you blew up his heads.
Well, they destroyed my hometown.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You had the thing with the multiple heads. I forgot about that thing.
King Ghidorah's the three-headed monster.
I didn't know
Godzilla
that was
goes
his name.
nuclear
I'm just
on him. Yeah.
thinking it was a monster. I forgot about it. Now I remember that it was flying and it had the multiple heads.
Yeah, it created the hurricane around it when it flew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is on a comic, not the movie. So if you don't want to hear this,
knowledge on us, okay.
If you don't want to hear this, just cover your ears. So Godzilla does his atomic breath with Shazam and Superman. And then when he does that, Superman dies. For Shazam. Yeah. His suit has little stuff coming off of it, steam, and then his skin is all red.
Yeah, that's in issue 1 of Godzilla. 2. It's in issue 2. Sorry, dang. Okay. Issue 2, everybody, my bad. Of Godzilla Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah, I haven't seen the first one.
Well, I have the first one downstairs, and I have the other ones on my laptop. I'll have to pull it up so you can read them. But you have been reading the comics, right? You like the Godzilla comics?
I like the Transformer one too.
You also like Transformers, okay? You do. He's been reading because of comic books. But do you have any final fun facts before we go into Godzilla versus Kong?
So yeah, I have the 1963 movie Godzilla and versus King Kong was the first time the two of them fought. And like I said before, King Kong did win. So this film changed Godzilla's roar a bit by mixing two of his original 1954 roars, and then they sped it up several cycles. This was a way to actually tone down Godzilla's darkness from the previous two movies because they had said he was a bit too dark. Godzilla was interesting too. When I was reading some of the fun facts, a lot of people like complained like this movie made me feel sad or this movie was very dark, and like now you go into a movie and if the movie makes you feel anything, that's a success. Like if you felt terrible or scared or happy, like whatever it was, that's the whole point. So I feel like movies in that regard was probably still shocking when they were able to do that to you. So a lot of people were like, this is a little too dark, lighten it up. So Godzilla, this one's I thought was really interesting. Godzilla has 3 toes in this movie instead of 4. In Japan, the number 4 is considered unlucky. So to make him more positive or comical in his appearance in the first series of the Godzilla films, he would keep having only 3 toes. When Toho later brought Godzilla back to his darker, more serious roots in the 80s, he went back to having 4 toes.
Oliver's over here inspecting his toy. He's like, there's 4 toes. Well, that's because she just told you when he
5.
When he got serious again.
There's 5.
Oh, he's got like the dog dew claw on the back.
Oh, okay.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
He's counting the toe. He's like our fact checker.
Godzilla's on Feet Finder with his 4 toes.
So my last fun fact is this film was the first time either King Kong and Godzilla were filmed in color. So both of them, this was their first time in color. And it was the first time either of them were filmed in widescreen. This film was also the 3rd film for King Kong and the 3rd film for Godzilla. However, it is not considered a sequel to the original King Kong or Son of Kong.
Oh.
Those are my fun facts.
All right. Well, let's talk about what do you got, Oliver?
I forgot one. No, I forgot it, but I like that this Godzilla has like spikes on his tail, so if he doesn't have enough time for his atomic breath, he just hits you with the tail.
Well, that's the Godzilla from the new movie.
Yeah,
He's got kind of like a Stegosaurus tail.
Yeah, and then one spoiler again. There's an ape that basically
It's King Grodd.
Yeah. And then
King
there's
Grodd.
this other guy. There's 2 more bad guys.
Yeah, Gorilla Grodd. Sorry, I said King Grodd. It's Gorilla Grodd from Flash because it's in the Justice League.
I was thinking that there was a King Kong version I was like, well, what does Grodd mean? Okay.
He went back to the comic book.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Someone already left.
I think that's you. I don't know how that happened.
I don't know. I think because my laptop's on the computer. Whatever.
Yeah. And then what was that again? I forgot.
Sorry, I interrupted you. You're talking about Gorilla Grodd.
Gorilla Grodd.
Oh yeah. Kong breaks his arms in a fight. And then the new guy, you feel like Godzilla didn't freeze Ghidorah. You feel like someone else did because there's an ice monster.
I have no.
Yeah, you could have frozen him.
Oh, the King Ghidorah is not in that. You're still talking about the comic book. Yeah, they have different titans that they're battling because the Legion of Doom basically causes the Titans and Godzilla and all them to come to wipe out the Justice League so they can get rid of the Justice League. That's kind of the premise of that comic book.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the trailer. You see an ice monster.
You're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
You go. Okay, I think this monster did blah 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 to this monster.
You're all over the place, kid. I see what you're saying. He's talking about the trailer for the new movie. Let's go into Godzilla versus King Kong though, from 2021, where it's the 2 are back. They're the second time ever meeting on screen, fighting each other. This one actually stars Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown again, Rebecca Hall, who is from Iron Man 3, Brian Tyree Henry, who is a fantastic actor. He was actually with Aaron Taylor Johnson in Bullet Train. Great movie. Highly recommend. Kyle Chandler is back as the shitty dad that nobody likes. And it was directed by Adam Wingard. This movie pits Godzilla and King Kong next to each other or against each other. And
then they sort of work together.
They do. So who do they fight in this movie?
They fight, and then there's a quarter of them working together because Kong finally realizes that he's upset and destroying things because they're making a Mechagodzilla that is a robot, and Godzilla is upset about that and starts destroying things. And so he's upset.
Yep. So the bad guys basically wanted to get Godzilla's power so that way they can bring Mechagodzilla to life. And then so they go down into the upside down world, essentially in the middle of the planet. And that's where Kong's at. He finds an axe with Godzilla's spine on it, like spike. And that's what he uses as his axe. Godzilla basically blows down into there with his atomic breath. And Millie Bobby Brown and Brian Tyree Henry are off doing useless stuff. They find Mechagodzilla. Also, the kid who played Deadpool. And Deadpool 2, the kid from there, the bad kid in Deadpool 2, he's in this movie too as their friend.
And he wasn't bad in this movie. He was terrible in Chronicles.
He was, yes.
One thing, this is what you should not see. Kong killing off. No, wait. Godzilla? It's not the last Godzilla. There used to be others, Kong, like ancestors or people that were like him were fighting Godzilla's old family, which you don't really see.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. And then somehow they have a fight. And then there's only one left because they were both children.
Well, who ends up beating Mechagodzilla?
Both.
They both do?
Yeah.
Well, Godzilla's getting his butt whooped by Mechagodzilla, and then Kong comes back to life, right?
Yeah, because someone or some people revived him.
That's right. How did you feel about the Godzilla King Kong fight? Was it good?
Yeah.
You did?
I like Godzilla's so he acts like he got this in a bag, so he goes easy, and then he's like bored. He goes really mad, just kicks Kong's butt. You're like,
he steps on him and everything.
Yeah, you're like, no, don't kill Kong. He's a man of the day.
He's the man of the day. Okay. All right. I mean, he is. He's got to save the day. They're misunderstanding each other. They have that mutual respect at the end where like, hey, you know what? You fought well and we needed each other. We beat the bad guy. Now we can move on.
Yeah. And then they work together again in the new movie.
Well, we haven't seen the new movie yet.
No, I seen the trailer.
Okay. Yes.
You see them running at the new guy.
That's right. The trailer for the new movie shows that we're introducing Kong's ancestors, and they look like they're the bad guy, and then they're working together, which I don't know how Godzilla's running as fast as he is with that body.
With those little legs.
With those legs. I don't know what's going on, but he's moving.
No. He used to be really slow. Now he's kind of fat.
He's been working out.
Yeah.
He's been doing leg day, I guess. He's been bench pressing Kong. I don't know. You didn't see Godzilla versus Kong, did you, Lauren?
I did. That was the one we talked about. Yeah.
Oh, that is right. Well, tell us. Like, we're over here just chatting away. What were your thoughts on that movie?
I mean, I enjoyed it. That's how I remembered it was like the kids. I do remember being very confused at first because like you're talking about Kyle Chandler and like he's in the 2005 one, but he's a completely different character. So that like threw me for a loop at first.
Oh, like, yeah. I totally forgot he is. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen that movie. But Kaylee was 3. I was just thinking about it. She was 3, and that was one of her favorite movies because she was obsessed with Jurassic Park. But she didn't want to watch the whole movie. She just wanted to watch the parts where Kong and the T-Rex fought. And she would say, I want to watch the movie where the T-Rex, and she would mimic his mouth being pulled open. Like that's such like a gruesome. It's so crazy like how little she was. Like she just was obsessed with Jurassic Park and that. And like she is like she doesn't like when she gets called a girly girl, but like she loved to wear her fancy dresses and have her tea parties and wear her shawls. But then like that kid sat through Iron Man in the theater and loved King Kong and loved Jurassic Park. But no, I enjoyed that movie. I thought that movie was pretty good. And obviously like it's very different from the 2005 one. The 2005 one was going for like an artsy feel. So I feel like these ones are more realistic. The 2005
I wouldn't go for realistic with these ones, but
it's not as much. I mean, that was
these are just fun. Like I feel like these ones are meant for fun. Like the MonsterVerse is just fun. They know we want monsters slapping other meaty monsters, and that's what we're gonna get. Versus like Jack Black being all ta-da, which is the 2005 version, or Matthew Broderick in whatever Godzilla version we got in 1999.
I never saw that one.
You never saw that one? You never saw like the toys at Burger King and everything? That was like a huge thing.
No, I don't think so.
Oh wow, yeah, that was. He tried watching that one, and he didn't like that one though.
I hate it. Unfortunately.
Now I'm curious. Well, the 2005 one too took place in like the 30s, so it was like remaking.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was a remake of the original Kong, basically.
So
and
yeah, I guess when I
it was
think
Peter
realistic
Jackson, so
too, it's like realistic how Captain America is realistic.
yeah. No, you're right. This one, like again, it doesn't take itself too seriously, which is why I like these movies. Like,
I mean, they
I go to the
can.
movies for fun, and I just want to watch Godzilla beat up other monsters and Kong beat up other monsters. And
Yeah.
I
All
think the
you
one
want to see, I was gonna say, all you want to see is Godzilla kicking some butts.
that's right.
kicking
That's
some
what we come to
butts.
these movies for. Kick some butts, man.
Kicking butts
Kick
and
some
taking
butts.
names.
Kicking butts.
My head always goes in these movies too. Like, how much property damage are they causing? Like, good lord.
I mean, we've already destroyed 2 cities in the previous movie. San Francisco's gone,
2
Boston's gone.
big
Are they built?
cities, too.
Like, are we built again? I don't really know. Maybe that's why they had to come up with that new world. Well, then I guess there's some like Asian city that they just destroyed in Godzilla versus Kong. I think they went
Yeah.
to like Japan or China or something.
Because
and
they were underground
we
there,
couldn't.
weren't they?
Yeah, they have to go underground, and then they come out, and they couldn't keep destroying American cities. We wouldn't have any left.
Yeah.
Anyways,
America wouldn't let that happen.
So, my friend said he thinks, and I think this, that King Ghidorah's from another planet,
well, I think
and
that
it got
it
yeah,
happens in the old movies. King Ghidorah comes from another planet.
yeah. I tried watching that, but instead it glitches and breaks off.
Ah, glitches and breaks off. You hate to see it. It was because it's from like the 30s. Maybe we'll check it out.
Okay.
Oliver, do you have any final thoughts about Godzilla or anything like that before we wrap this up? We're wrapping this up
done.
now. Do you have any final thoughts about Godzilla, King Kong?
Well, this is the new movie thing. So the new bad guy with the, like the thing that hits the other Kongs. He basically eats Kong.
It's amazing. It's like you made this movie yourself.
No, I seen the trailer.
The trailer gives everything away now, huh?
His
Yeah,
eyes
they do that
closed.
these days.
They really do that these days.
I guess so. And then Godzilla's upset that anything bad happens.
That's true. I guess we'll have to see it. We'll be seeing it together this weekend. Lauren, do you have any final thoughts about Godzilla or King Kong?
No, but I do have one last question for you guys. Is there anything you would recommend people knowing or remembering before they go into this new one?
Yes. And that is just have fun.
Yeah, just have fun and see how Godzilla either act. And if you follow that, then do not watch that. If you follow Godzilla's actions, you should not watch it until you're a grown up.
Oh, you're saying if you
Yeah.
So he's saying if you're young and you watch it, then he thinks you don't want to go and hit your friends and stuff. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, because Godzilla, when he's mad, he destroys things.
And that's not how we should act when we're mad. We should talk it out, right?
Yeah, like he's mad that blah blah this happens, blah blah that thing.
Well, Godzilla's a monster. He doesn't have words, so he only knows what to do.
He knows how to scream.
He does. Yeah, just have fun with these movies. That's all they are. They're fun,
Yeah.
mindless movies. Enjoy monsters beating monsters. Don't take it too seriously. And hey, thanks for coming on the show, man. Thanks for hanging out. We will see everybody next week when we will have maybe a recap on Ghostbusters if I can go see it this weekend. If not, we'll figure something out.
We might watch it too.
We might watch that one too. Well, you already watched it. I gotta watch it. You guys have watched it. I haven't yet.
I'm not gonna tell you if I go see it.
Oh, okay. You got your own car?
No.
Okay. I got the money too. Weird.
Anyways,
Anyways,
some money.
thank you everybody for hanging out with us. We will see you guys next week. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Patreon.com/HopsGeekNews is how you can support the show. And until next week, cheers.
Good.